Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine waking up, but not in your bed. No phone beside you, no ceiling above you, just the cold ground beneath your back. The sound of wind moving through trees so ancient they have no names. And a darkness so complete, the stars feel like they're close enough to touch. You're not lost. This is home. Now open your eyes. You're back, in your world, with your coffee, your notifications, your to-do list, your deadlines. But I want you to hold on to that feeling for just a second. That strange, quiet sense of something older than memory. Because here's the question that should shake you to your core. Are you really that different from the one who woke up on that cold ground 300,000 years ago? Not just physically, not just intellectually, but inside, in your fears, in your longing, in the way your chest tightens when someone you love is in danger. Science is starting to say, the answer is no. And what it's uncovering is not just a story about the past, it's a story about you. Picture a world with no cities, no roads, no borders drawn on maps that didn't exist. Just endless wilderness stretching in every direction, alive, untamed, and absolutely unforgiving. Somewhere in that world, a small group huddles together around a fire. They don't have language the way we do, but they communicate, they warn each other, they comfort each other, they mourn when someone is lost, they laugh. Think about that for a second. Laughter, that involuntary, fully human response to joy, existed hundreds of thousands of years before the internet, before civilization, before written language. They felt. And that feeling, that deep primal need to belong, to survive, to protect the ones you love, that didn't begin with us. It began with them. For millions of years, our ancestors walked this earth, long before agriculture, long before cities, long before anyone sat down and thought to ask, why am I here? They didn't ask that question. They just lived. But here is what truly haunts me about all of this. They were us, just earlier. The same anxiety before danger, the same grief at loss, the same fire in the chest when something precious was threatened. So what changed? What turned them into us? Or, the better question, did anything really change at all? Let's talk about what they look like, because this is where it gets genuinely fascinating. Ancient humans were built differently. Their bones were significantly denser than ours, not by a little, but by a measurable, remarkable amount. Studies on skeletal remains show that early human leg bones had a structural strength that would be considered extraordinary even by today's athletic standards. Their grip strength would crush ours without effort. Their legs, shaped by a lifetime of walking 10, sometimes 15 miles a day, could outlast most trained athletes today. And they didn't train for any of it. The world was the training. Every single day was a test. Find food, read the land, avoid predators, keep the group warm, keep the group alive. And over thousands of generations, shaped by that relentless pressure, the human body became something extraordinary. Now look at us. We sit for 8 to 10 hours a day. We take elevators to avoid one flight of stairs. We have machines that carry our groceries, wash our clothes, move us from place to place without a single step required. And slowly, quietly, our bodies are responding to that. Bone density in modern populations has declined compared to our prehistoric ancestors. Vision problems are surging. Researchers believe because our eyes evolved for open landscapes, not screens held 12 inches from our face. Even our jaws are physically shrinking because processed, soft food no longer requires the chewing force that shaped the ancient jaw. Here is the uncomfortable truth that nobody really talks about. We didn't conquer nature. We stepped away from it. And our bodies, still running ancient software, are confused by that. But before you feel too guilty, what we gained in exchange for all of that physical power is the most extraordinary trade in the history of life on this planet. Here is a question worth really sitting with. What makes a human human? Is it the hands? Many animals have limbs capable of manipulation. Is it emotion? Anyone who has watched an elephant grieve or a dog wait years for an owner knows emotion is not uniquely ours. Is it tools? Crows use tools. Chimpanzees use tools. Even some fish have been observed using rocks. So what is it? It's the story. Ancient humans were, as far as we know, the first creatures on Earth to look up at the night sky and wonder about it. To sit beside a dying fire and think, what happens after this? What is that light? What am I? They painted on cave walls not because it helped them survive. In fact, it cost them time and energy they couldn't easily spare. They did it because something inside them needed to make meaning, needed to leave a mark, needed to say, I was here. That is not survival instinct. That is something else entirely. And over hundreds of thousands of years, that brain, that wondering, questioning, storytelling brain, grew more complex, more interconnected, more capable of imagination than anything else that had ever lived. But here is the part that stopped researchers cold when they first fully understood it. The brain of a person who lived 100,000 years ago was roughly the same size as yours. Same volume, same basic architecture, same hardware, different software. Which means that somewhere in an ancient mind, sitting by a fire in a landscape we wouldn't recognize, there was someone with the raw capacity for everything you're capable of. Mathematics, philosophy, empathy, music, poetry, grief so deep it changes a person. They just didn't have the accumulated knowledge yet, the thousands of years of discoveries passed down and built upon. They had the instrument, they just hadn't yet learned all of what it could play. And we do. But here is the question that deserves a real answer. Are we using it? This is the part of the story that genuinely changed how I think about myself. And I think it will change how you think about yourself too. When researchers began mapping ancient DNA, carefully extracting and sequencing genetic code from bones tens of thousands of years old, they found something no one fully expected. Something that reaches across every generation between then and now and lands directly inside your body. You carry them with you, right now, in this moment. Inside your cells, there are fragments of ancient genetic code from lineages that no longer exist as separate populations, from people who never knew what a written word looked like, who never heard recorded sound or saw artificial light. Studies estimate that between 1% and 4% of the DNA in most modern humans traces back to ancient relatives who merged with early human populations long before recorded history began. Let that breathe for a second. That means their immune responses, the biological memory of diseases they survived, live in your immune system right now. The heightened alertness they developed on the open savanna, scanning every shadow for danger, that same wiring is in your nervous system. It's why you flinch at sudden sounds, why a dark room at night still raises something primal in you even when you know nothing is there. Their curiosity, the specific, restless, reaching quality of mind that made them cross mountains and follow rivers into the unknown, lives in you. You are not separate from them. You are not their distant descendants in the way we usually picture, a long, unbroken line stretching back through history. You are the continuation of them, the living expression of everything they survived. Every time you feel genuine wonder at something beautiful, every time you stare into a fire and feel something you can't quite name stir in your chest, every time you look up at the night sky and feel both impossibly small and somehow mysteriously significant. That is not just you. That is 300,000 years of endurance moving through your blood. But here is where the story takes its sharpest turn, and I need you to really hear this part. For the entirety of human history, all of it, every chapter, our species was shaped by the world around us. Ice ages came. We adapted, or we died. Drought came. We moved, or we died. Disease came. The vulnerable died, and those who survived passed on their resistance. Evolution worked on us the way it works on everything, through pressure, time, and death. We had no say in it. But something changed. Roughly 10,000 years ago, we stopped purely adapting to the world and began adapting the world to us. We planted crops instead of following them. We built walls against the cold instead of evolving thicker skin. We developed medicines that kept people alive who, in another era, would not have survived to pass on their genes. Ancient humans adapted to survive ice ages. We invented heating systems. They memorized the stars to navigate. We built GPS. They died in enormous numbers from infections we now cure with a single course of antibiotics. They lived, on average, 30 to 40 years. We routinely live past 80. In the span of just a few thousand years, less than a single breath in evolutionary time, we have rewritten the conditions of human existence so completely that our ancient ancestors would not recognize the world we inhabit. And now, right now, in this decade, in this moment, we stand at a threshold that no generation in all of human history has ever stood at before. We can read our own genetic code. We have begun editing it. We are building minds, artificial ones, that learn and reason, and in some areas already surpass us. We are asking a question that has never been asked before in the 300,000-year story of our species. Not what will humans become, but what should humans become? Ancient humans had no voice in their own evolution. It happened to them, around them, without their knowledge or consent. We are the first generation, the very first in all of human history, who gets to have a say. And that is the most terrifying, the most wondrous, and the most deeply human thing that has ever happened. So let's come back to where we started. Are you really that different from the one who woke up on the cold ground under those ancient stars 300,000 years ago? In your bones? Not very much. In your DNA? Barely. In your fundamental fears, your hunger for connection, your need to matter to someone? Almost not at all. But in your hands? In what those hands have access to, what they can build, what they can heal, what they can create, what they can choose. Everything is different. The people who came before us did not endure what they endured. The cold, the loss, the relentless, grinding difficulty of simply staying alive so that we could sleepwalk through the extraordinary gift of existing in this moment. They carried the story forward, generation by generation, through every disaster and extinction and ice age and plague, so that one day, someone would have the privilege not just of surviving, but of choosing. That someone is you. The story did not end with them. It didn't end with any of the millions of generations between them and you. It is still being written. And the next chapter? That belongs to you. So tonight, when you step outside and look up at the same sky they looked up at, ask yourself something. What would they think if they could see what you do with the life they made possible? Would they be proud?